It's one ARMY across the world won't stop talking about. It started as a routine sound check. At least, that's what everyone thought. Tampa's Raymond James Stadium was already buzzing hours before the official concert, filled with a select group of fans lucky enough to witness Soundcheck Day 2. These are usually controlled, technical rehearsals, less polished, more relaxed. But with Jin, Jungkook, and the other BTS members on stage, routine quickly turned into something unforgettable. Jin walked out first. The crowd went completely silent. No screaming, no chanting. Just listening. For a brief moment, Tampa wasn't a stadium. It felt like a private room, where Jin, Jungkook, and BTS were sharing something deeply personal with the fans who were there. Even Jungkook seemed to step back slightly during this part, watching Jin perform with a look that fans quickly interpreted as admiration mixed with concern. It wasn't dramatic, it was subtle. But in a world where BTS moments are analyzed frame by frame, subtlety becomes powerful. US fan communities picked up on it almost instantly. Clips began circulating with captions like, "Jungkook watching Jin like this," and "Jin's voice during soundcheck is breaking hearts." Within hours, the moment had crossed over into mainstream conversation, with entertainment-focused pages highlighting the emotional weight of the rehearsal. And yet, BTS didn't let the atmosphere stay heavy for long. Because right after that emotional peak, everything flipped. Jungkook suddenly grabbed a mic and started hyping the crowd, running across the stage again, encouraging fans to scream louder. Jin joined in, laughing, pointing at different sections of the audience, turning the quiet intensity into explosive energy. It was a deliberate shift. A reminder that BTS understands not just music, but emotion, pacing, and connection. The ability to take a crowd from silence to chaos and back again is what separates performers from global icons. And Jin and Jungkook? They controlled that shift perfectly. As Soundcheck Day 2 neared its end, the members gathered closer together at center stage. There was no formal speech, no grand closing statement. Just small gestures, nods, smiles, brief exchanges between Jin, Jungkook, and the rest of BTS. But those small gestures carried weight. Because for the fans watching, it felt like they had witnessed something rare. Not just preparation, but truth. In the hours that followed, US-based armies began sharing their experiences online, describing the soundcheck as more emotional than the actual concert, unexpectedly intimate, and a reminder of why BTS feels different. And maybe that's the real story here. In an industry built on perfection, BTS, and especially Jin and Jungkook in this moment, allowed imperfection to show. Not in a way that weakened their performance, but in a way that strengthened their connection with fans. Because vulnerability, when shared on a stage that big, doesn't get lost. It echoes. And Tampa felt that echo. Now the question is, what does this mean moving forward? Is this just one emotional moment in a long tour? Or is it a signal that something deeper is unfolding behind the scenes for Jin, Jungkook, and BTS as a whole? Fans are already speculating. Some believe Jin is carrying the emotional weight of the tour more heavily than expected. Others think Jungkook's reactions show a protective instinct, a silent support system that doesn't need words. But without official statements, all that remains is what was seen. And what was felt. One thing is certain, Soundcheck Day 2 in Tampa was not just a rehearsal. It was a spotlight moment. A moment where Jin, Jungkook, and BTS reminded the world that behind the global success, the sold-out stadiums, and the record-breaking achievements, they are still human, still present, still connected, and still capable of surprising everyone, even in the most unexpected setting. So now we want to hear from you. Did you see the viral clips from Tampa's Soundcheck Day 2? Do you think Jungkook was really concerned about Jin, or was it just a misunderstood moment? Drop your thoughts in the comments, share this with fellow ARMYs, and don't forget to subscribe for more real-time BTS updates. Because if this is what happens during Soundcheck, what will happen when the rehearsal show begins? What happened next didn't just continue the moment, it elevated it into something fans are now calling one of the most unforgettable pre-show experiences BTS has ever created in the United States. As the members began transitioning into the next rehearsal segment, the atmosphere inside Raymond James Stadium shifted again, this time with a sense of anticipation that felt almost electric. Jin stood near center stage, adjusting his in-ear monitor, while Jungkook circled back toward him, glancing over more than once, as if making sure everything was perfectly in sync. And that detail didn't go unnoticed. Fans in the front sections later shared that Jungkook seemed unusually attentive, not distracted, not nervous, but hyper-aware. Every time Jin moved, Jungkook's eyes followed. Every time Jin paused, Jungkook subtly slowed down too. It wasn't obvious to a casual viewer, but to ARMY, who have watched these dynamics evolve for years, it felt significant. Then the music cue dropped again. This time, it was sharper, louder, closer to what fans would expect from the actual concert. The members snapped into formation, and within seconds, the stage transformed from a casual rehearsal space into a full-scale performance zone. Jin's presence changed instantly. The earlier softness in his expression gave way to focus, precision, control. His vocals cut cleanly through the stadium air, hitting notes with a clarity that reminded everyone exactly why Jin continues to stand as one of BTS's most essential voices. And yet, even in that professionalism, there was still something layered beneath the surface, something emotional that hadn't fully disappeared. Jungkook matched that energy, but in his own way. Where Jin became sharper, Jungkook became more dynamic. His movements grew bigger, more expressive, almost as if he was compensating, filling the space with energy, making sure the mood stayed lifted, balanced. At one point, he even broke formation briefly, running toward the edge of the stage to interact with fans again, drawing cheers that echoed across the stadium. It worked. The crowd roared back to life. And, just like that, the emotional tension that had been building earlier was woven into something powerful, something shared. But the real turning point came moments later. As the track faded out, Jin stepped forward again, this time without waiting for a cue. He looked out across the stadium, scanning the crowd slowly, as if taking in every section, every face. The noise softened naturally, fans sensing that something was about to happen. No script. No announcement. Just Jin. He said something briefly, too soft for many to hear clearly, but those close enough described it as a quiet acknowledgement. A thank you. A recognition of the fans who showed up not just for the concert, but for this early, unfiltered moment. And then he smiled. Not the polished, camera-ready smile seen on global broadcasts, but something more personal, more grounded. Jungkook reacted immediately. Standing just a few steps behind, he lowered his mic slightly, watching Jin with an expression that ARMYs later described as proud and deeply respectful. It wasn't dramatic, it didn't need to be. Because in that moment, the connection between them spoke louder than any words. The rest of BTS closed in subtly, forming a loose line behind Jin, creating a visual that fans quickly turned into viral stills across social media platforms in the US. Within minutes, phrases like BTS Unity, Jin Center Moment, and Jungkook watching Jin began trending in fan communities. And then, just as quickly as it had slowed down, the energy surged again. J-Hope clapped his hands, hyping the crowd back up. Jimin spun toward the audience with a playful grin. V added his signature unpredictability, drawing laughter from fans. RM stepped forward, signaling the next segment with calm authority. And Jin? He stepped right back into position. No hesitation. No sign of the emotional weight from earlier, at least not on the surface. That ability to feel deeply, then perform flawlessly, is something that continues to define BTS at this stage of their career. And Soundcheck Day 2 in Tampa became a perfect example of that balance. By the final minutes of the session, the stadium felt transformed. What began as a technical rehearsal had turned into a full emotional journey, one that moved from excitement to curiosity to quiet intensity and back to explosive energy. Fans weren't just watching BTS prepare, they were experiencing something raw, something real. And perhaps that's why this moment resonated so strongly, especially with audiences in the United States. Because in a market saturated with polished performances and tightly controlled appearances, BTS, and particularly Jin and Jungkook in this moment, offered something different. Something less filtered. Something human. Clips from the soundcheck continued to circulate long after it ended. Major fan accounts broke down every interaction. Body language experts weighed in on Jin and Jungkook's subtle exchanges. Reaction videos flooded YouTube, with titles questioning what really happened during those brief, but powerful seconds when everything seemed to pause. Clear. Direct. He said a few words, short, simple, but enough to send the crowd into another wave of emotion. Though not every word was clearly heard across the stadium, fans close to the stage reported that it felt like a message not just to Tampa, but to everyone following BTS's journey in the United States. And then, unexpectedly, he turned the mic toward Jin. The reaction was immediate. The crowd surged again, louder than before. Jin hesitated, just for a second. A rare pause. But then he stepped forward. And in that moment, everything slowed down once more. No music. No choreography. No distractions. Just Jin, standing in front of thousands of fans, holding a mic, and choosing what to do next. He didn't give a long speech. He didn't need to. What he delivered was brief, sincere, and carried a tone that many fans described as grounding. It wasn't dramatic, it was honest. A simple acknowledgement of the moment, the fans, and the journey they were all part of together. And somehow, that simplicity hit harder than anything else that day. Jungkook's reaction said it all. Standing slightly behind Jin again, he smiled, not the playful grin from earlier, but something quieter, steadier. As if whatever he had been watching, whatever he had been sensing throughout the soundcheck, had resolved in that moment. Around them, the other BTS members.